On the morning of August 6th, 2005, the city of Fortaleza, in northeastern Brazil, woke up to an ordinary weekend. People were going to work, markets were filling up, and the beaches were crowded as always. Everything seemed completely normal, but no one knew that on that very morning something extraordinary, something that would go down in history, was about to happen. No gunshots were fired, no alarms went off, and there were no witnesses. Everything happened silently, leaving no trace behind. From the vault of Brazil's central bank, 160 million reais, about 70 million US dollars at the time, had vanished, and the total weight of that money was 3.5 tons. This wasn't just the biggest heist in Brazil. It was one of the largest cash robberies in the world. Everything had begun months before the heist. The mastermind of the plan was Jusy Van Santos, known by his nickname Alemo. But every brain needs a financier, and that man was Fernando Ribeiro, nicknamed Fernandinho. The gang had around 34 members, each assigned a specific role, just like in a movie. There were construction workers, tunnel diggers, men with engineering knowledge, former criminals, and even security guards inside the bank leaking information to the group. These weren't ordinary thieves. They were organized, patient, and extremely professional. Alemo began searching for a house close to the bank, something discreet that wouldn't draw attention. His goal was clear: to dig a tunnel from a seemingly harmless location straight into the heart of Brazil's central bank. After weeks of scouting, they rented a modest house on a quiet street away from prying eyes. But there was one major problem: the massive amount of dirt that would come out during the digging. They had to remove it without raising suspicion. That's when they came up with a brilliant idea: to create a fake lawn company. The shop's name was Grama Sintética, which means artificial grass, so hauling bags of dirt around wouldn't look strange to anyone. They even painted the house green, printed fake invoices, and chatted casually with the neighbors. From the outside, they looked like an ordinary landscaping business, but inside, they were preparing one of the greatest crime operations in history. In May, the first shovel hit the ground. The gang dug 4 meters deep under the house, then began working toward the bank's vault, an 80-meter-long tunnel, just 70 centimeters wide. It was barely enough space for one person to crawl through. The digging went on for 3 months, day and night in shifts. One person dug, another filled the bags with dirt, another pulled them up with a rope, and the outside crew hauled them away. Transporting tons of soil became their biggest challenge. Sometimes they drove it out of the city and dumped it. Sometimes they piled it into rooms inside the house. When a room filled up, they built a wall over it and moved on to the next one. Eventually, they started dumping it in the backyard. The ground there rose by almost a meter, and still, no one noticed. Digging a tunnel requires more than strength. It requires knowledge. Oxygen levels drop, soil can collapse, gases can accumulate. But the gang had thought of everything. They built a ventilation system to pump fresh air through the tunnel. Over 900 wooden panels reinforced the walls. There were battery-powered lamps for light, hoses for water, and cables for communication. This wasn't just a tunnel, it was an underground engineering masterpiece. They even knew the exact location of the vault, thanks to the inside men feeding them information. So they dug with millimeter precision straight to the target. The date was Friday, August 5th, 2005. Banks were closed. Security was relaxed. It was the perfect night for a heist. The final obstacle was the 1-meter-thick wall of reinforced concrete and steel surrounding the vault. Using industrial drills, hydraulic jacks, and welding torches, they worked for 3 straight hours. Finally, they broke through. The security cameras inside weren't recording. They only streamed live footage. That meant no way to identify faces afterward. The gang blocked the cameras with wooden pallets, leaving no evidence behind. The bank's security system had never considered an attack from below. Once inside, the team worked for 11 hours. They ignored the newly printed traceable banknotes and took only older 50 real bills that couldn't be tracked. In total, they stole 164 million reais, worth about 70 million US dollars. The money weighed 3.5 tons. If stacked, it would reach a height of 330 meters. They filled the cash into sacks and transported it through the tunnel on a small rail system. Everything ran with military precision. By dawn, every sack of money had been moved and loaded into vehicles each member knew their share. The leaders took 10 to 20 million reais each, while the diggers earned around 2 million. Then they all vanished, disappearing into the night without a trace. On Monday morning, bank employees arrived for work. Everything looked perfectly normal. The doors were intact. The cameras were on. The alarms were silent, until they opened the vault. Inside was nothing but emptiness, just a few scattered bills on the floor, and in the middle, a massive hole in the ground. Everyone was in shock. The police were called immediately. The first officer to enter, Enéas Soprera, crawled through the tunnel for nearly an hour before reaching the exit. Inside the house, investigators found digging tools, bags, food, and even white powder used to erase fingerprints. The plan was perfect, and so was the escape. But no matter how perfect a crime is, the human factor is always the weakest link. Some members of the gang started spending the money carelessly. A few bought 10 cars from a dealership, paying entirely in 50 real bills. The dealer got suspicious and called the police. And from there, the trail began to unravel. By November, 13 suspects had been arrested. And over the years, that number grew to 129. The mastermind, Alemo, was captured in 2008 and sentenced to 49 years in prison. But even behind bars, he continued scheming. In 2017, he was shot and killed while attempting to escape. The financier, Fernandinho, didn't survive much longer. He was kidnapped and murdered by his own gang members. The money had turned them against each other. Police conducted massive operations involving hundreds of officers. Yet only 11% of the stolen money, or about 18 million reais, was ever recovered. The rest vanished without a trace. Some of it was laundered through luxury cars, real estate, or legitimate-looking businesses. It was later revealed that even some police officers had helped the gang in exchange for bribes. The case exposed how deeply organized crime had infiltrated Brazil's institutions. After the heist, banks across Brazil completely overhauled their security systems. Now, not only doors, but underground threats were monitored as well. They installed tunnel detection systems, thermal cameras, and underground sensors. The event even made it into the Guinness World Records as the largest cash heist in history. The brilliance and precision of the operation captured the imagination of the public. Many called it the real-life Money Heist. But there was one key difference. In this story, no guns were fired, no one was killed, only intelligence, patience, and an extraordinary plan. So, where is that 3.5 tons of money today? No one knows. Maybe it's buried somewhere in Brazil, maybe it's already long spent. But one thing is certain. This was one of the quietest, smartest, and most astonishing bank robberies in history. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back soon with another mysterious story. Take care, and see you next time.